following AOR live stream is brought to you by the following sponsors: Elgato Gaming, Hype Energy Drinks, Thrustmaster and GT Omega Racing. Make sure to check them out in the description down below after the race. And hello and welcome back to Apex Online Racing. For Season 17, the hype is real. We are back for a shortened version of the calendar, starting off here in Melbourne, Australia. You are watching live coverage a little bit later than expected due to some technical issues, but this is F2 on the PlayStation 4. My name is Andy, and joining me in the box, as is usual in F2, and the same as last season, is Ollie. Ollie, how are you, my friend? I seem you've lost Ollie. Are you there?
No, yeah, I've muted myself, just, you know, as you do. I did say, I'm just looking at my poster that says the boys are back, where it's photoshopped our faces onto it. We've got ourselves some new recurring faces. The icon that is Cherry 2 Pie is here, but he is in a Red Bull racing car this time around, as all the drivers start to filter their way out onto the track. In fact, quite a long queue of them all just blistering out there onto the track nice and early. We'll get what the tyres are fitted. A few changes this season. I'll be streaming instead of Andy, which hopefully should fix his mic problems. And the biggest change, Andy, and I'm not sure about you, but I shed a tear. Jim Pasty has sadly departed Formula 2. He has moved on to Formula 3. It was emotional. I'm not sure how you felt about it.
Point. Ruben.
Sadly, Andy, I've just received a DM and I've just checked it, and your mic is starting to jump a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll quickly try and see what's happened with that. I've just received, a message from one of the drivers has just let me know. So we'll try and get that sorted nice and quickly. But what we'll do is, while we are here and we are enjoying this beautiful track, we're on board with Cherry 2 Pie, we'll see if we can find somebody who's just starting a lap. It looks like the Sauber here of R2, not to be confused with the robot from Star Wars, technically a droid. He makes his way through turns 1 and 2. We'll run you through the complete grid this season for Formula 2. We start things off at Mercedes. The returning Ash Best is being he's being partnered up with Francis McGinn. You'll find him in second place there. Here he is, Francis MCG. So you got R2, we'll ride on board with him, continuing as he continues his lap. In Ferrari, Sean, of course, has departed us, and replacing him is the man who was previously at Red Bull Racing, Tactician. He's joined by returnee in Joglar. In Red Bull, it's a full friendship lineup, you could call it. Very good friends, and I have got inside knowledge that they're probably going to be working as a team throughout this season. That would be Cherry 2 Pie, who's been promoted from the Toro Rosso, partnered up with Pitmac. You just saw a Mercedes there completely spun around. That would be Ash Best, who has lost it coming out of the tricky 11 and 12 corners. We'll cook back with Jean de Blizzard across the line, 1 minute 19.8. Williams, we'll continue the end of this lap, and then we'll see if we can hear from Andy as we run through. Coming through the final corner comes the Sauber of R2. Just a little bit wavy there, onto the curbs, opens up that DRS, full strength, down the start finish straight, and he goes second, 1 minute 20.3. Andy, have you returned?
I hope so.
Yes.
The router's not doing anything well, but hopefully that's the only time that does happen. If you do spot it, drop it in the chat so I know what's going on. Another phone call to Sky during the week from a very angry Scotsman. But yeah, you're going through the return faces, new faces as well. Cherry 2 Pie, you've just talked about the Red Bull. Just popped it into provision. 2 times clear the Blizzard in the McLaren, and that's strange for me seeing Blizzard in the McLaren, I'll tell you that much. That's a really strange one. Cherry in a Red Bull rather than a Toro Rosso is also strange. We're going to have to get used to this. It's going to take maybe a race or two and then the season will be finished again, but only 7 drivers have set a lap so far. Cherry 2 Pie, Blizzard, Francis McGinn, R2, Jump, Pitmat, Luca are the only ones to settle up. You did see Ash obviously spinning at that tricky fast chicane towards the end of Sector 2 and the start of Sector 3, and I don't think that'll be the last time we see someone spinning there this evening. What do you think, Rory?
No, it won't be. It's one of them tracks that is quite difficult in the fact that it is so high speed and there are so many curves you can ride on. But it's going to be a tight one for these drivers. Nolan, who is a heavy favourite by many of the drivers, is currently down in 14th after getting an invalid lap. So hopefully we can see some improvement from him. Still a few faces to come out on track. Tactician, a pad runner. He's normally very quick in the Ferrari, just going through the first section. Hopefully for his sake he can have a better season compared to last year, where he was really consistent but just never seemed to get that final little piece into the cogwork that is his performances. So hopefully he can have a good start here this afternoon.
He might remember the last 3 races transition to the wheel at these rounds. I do think he's actually moved away from set up and isn't in a wheel possibly. I mean, I was bored with him. Smooth, it looks like a wheel's. Who knows? We'll need to find that one out from him at a later point, but he's coming through the final section just now. It's all ultra softs for those that have set a lap, except for MTZ and the Toro Rosso, who's on the super softs. The other compound available is the yellow banded soft tyres, which Danny in the Haas is out on at the moment. He's the only driver out on the hardest compound at this time. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Just looking through your Tactician's just put himself up in the 4th place with that third lap time. And you've never known much in quality last season, Ollie, but he was always pretty decent in the race, and we did tail off a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of the ones with Tactician. I've just checked for the chat. Apparently there's some echoing, so hopefully that can be sorted out. Obviously early stages, but you know, you got to get them little things sorted out nice and early. So we'll keep a close eye on that. MTZ is coming through the final corner, but he's darted into the pits. 2 laps he's completed on them super soft tyres as he darts his way in. Blizzard and Francis are both on out laps as things stand. We'll have a quick look through. I think Ville is just coming through the 2nd section now. So I think he's about to come through for his first lap on them ultra soft tyres that he currently has fitted on the car. So we've gone through some of the drivers in the track. I think we got to about Williams. I'm not sure if you've got the list up there, Andy. Would you want to run us through the next batch of drivers from Williams, Force India, Renault, Toro Rosso? There's still quite a lot in there.
And the excellent
Andy's mic has gone again, so I apologise. Hopefully we're going to do our best to try and get this sorted as quickly as possible. We are aware of the problem that has come. It's come in the past. We are working to get that solved. But Ville comes through the final corner, goes down the start-finish straight now, crosses the line, moves himself up into P2. Ville, a 1:19.6 is just a 10th off Cherry 2 Pie. Who would have thought it? Cherry 2 Pie is leading the way. Pole position currently stands for him with just over 10 minutes to go. It's Cherry 2 Pie from Ville, Blizzard and Francis makes up your front 2 rows here this evening. A few guys yet to set lap times. We've got Ash Best, for example, down there, who's just coming through the first corner now, right on board with him as he completes the first sector. A driver who won last time out, and we all thought in F2, me and Andy, I say we all, it's like me and Andy both thought that he would kickstart from there on and push to see if he could maybe compete for the championship. Sadly for him, wasn't meant to be. He's back this season in a new car, the Silver Arrow. Let's see what Ash can do. The Lithuanian driver with a lovely bright Lithuanian inspired helmet. Andy, we know last time out he was very competitive. Andy has left the party. So we'll run solo quickly as Andy is now he's left. Hopefully we can get this sorted. He's reset his internet. We'll do our best to get this sorted as quickly as possible. Until then, we're running completely solo. We're on board with Ash, who looks to be completing a lap through that final section now. Took 11 and 12 nicely. MTZ just to the right of him there as he pulls across, and just let Andy, just so you know, Andy's net went. So maybe that is the reason why he was lagging a little bit. So we'll try and get that sorted. Final few corners now for Ash Best. The Lithuanian driver goes through the penultimate corner, long right-hander for the finale, just clipping the curb, maximise that exit, full power, shifts up to 7th gear, crosses the line. Where is Ash going to go? He moves up into pole position. A 1:09.4 P4 donks Terry Tupai down into P2 as things currently stand. Ash from Cherry Tupai. A great start from the Mercedes drivers. We'll look further down. Anyone close to the end of the lap? Here comes R2 through the final corner. Let's see what he's able to do. Just crosses it through there nicely. Good exit out the corner early onto the power. Crosses the line. Moves up into P8 there with that time. We'll have a quick look then with someone else. Let's see who else is yet to set a time. To be fair, there's a few guys down there. Danny is yet to set a competitive time, you could say. So he's not set a time at all, sorry. 3 laps on soft compound tyres seems a little bit excessive. Cherry Tupai is just starting his... No, he's backed off there, so he's on an outlap. Or he's going for a second run on them tyres, because Cherry Tupai has been donked down by Nolan, who crossed the line. Cherry Tupai, though, is done an outlap, and now he's completing his first lap. Which is a little bit surprising, unless this is some strategy from him. There goes a Force India that zips by him. I think that might be Maxi Luca. No, it wasn't. It was his teammate in Raimif further down the field. Andy is on his way back. Hopefully we can get and hear from him very shortly. Danny is doing some long pace runs on them soft compound tyres. Maybe he hasn't got his practice in, and is trying his best to learn the compounds. We'll go on board with Blizzard, who I think he's just coming through the final corners now. He's just ramping up for a lap. So here's Blizzard as he comes around the final corner to start his lap. Many people favour him for a potential championship push in this early stage. Let's see what he's able to do. We'll ride on board into turns 1 and 2. Let's see how he takes it. All 4 wheels nearly all off the track, but he's taken maximum speed there. I don't think it's invalid. He's going to continue and keep pushing as he comes into turn 3. DRS wide open. No locking of the front tyres. Just going to cruise it through here now. Has to open up the corner. He's gone wide. That's very wide from Blizzard. And that might be an invalid lap. That's definitely not a quick time from him there. He's going to have to come into the pits and go again if he wants to... If he wants to challenge for pole position this evening. Cherry Tupai further up has come into the pits, pit mat ahead of him, as it looks like them two may be working together, looking at the positioning of their cars. So I think there could be a slipstream boost coming from Cherry Tupai and Pit Mat, who are very tight on track. You can see they're having to double stack as they enter the pits this evening. Currently standing Ash from Nolan Joglar in P3. With Cherry Tupai in P4. Blizzard, is he going to come into the pits? Let's find out, shall we? He's going to come through. I think it's invalid. It looked like he was. He's gone very wide here, so I think he may be darting into the pits nice and early and trying his best to maybe go again. Is he going to dive into the pits? Yeah, he is, so no surprises there. Danny's on his 5th lap on them tyres. We're going to go on board with Dan the Snake, who is currently qualifying on super soft tyres. The best times, they will list them out. Every single driver on the ultra soft tyres who has set a lap, apart from Danny with 1 minute 20.5, who has now left the session. So it's not been a great session for Danny. Or maybe the 5 Ys is a bit of an exaggeration from it. Maybe that's why. Why has he got them Ys? Well, we've found out, because he's overcompensating with his grammar. Dan the Snake then on the super soft tyres, coming through 11 and 12 now, high speed corners. Just want to clip them apexes nicely, extend the corner with maximum exit out of there. This is a DRS zone in real Formula 1, and here is going to be a great opportunity to overtake. Just shifting through these final few corners. A lovely line taken there. He's zipping through this final section. Dan the Snake is promoted from F3 last season. Good friends with Demon, who's promoted straight up into F1. Into the pits comes the Snake. If I call him Dan the Snake, that's because of his previous one, but the Snake, Dan the Snake, it's the same thing. As Danny looks like has rejoined. Yeah, he has. So Danny's rejoined quicker than Andy. I'm going to see what's happened to him. Hopefully we can hear from Andy pretty shortly. I'll find out for us what has happened to Andy, but hopefully we can see what's happened with him. Danny had connection issues, so hopefully we can get back in here. We'll have a look through. Tactician is out nice and early. He's going to be the first of this bunch to come into the pits, unless Ville is going to be coming in. Let's have a look here. No, Tactician's darted into the pits, so is Ville going to be the first one? Here he comes through the final corner. There's a guy ahead of him, which I believe is Zenqui. No, Dan in comes to the pits is Vile, and I believe Zenqui has also come in. So MTZ, is he going to be continuing on? We're going to find out. This C is a Toro Rosso, formerly of Casper and Cherry 2 Pie. MTZ is now with Dan the Snake in the Toro Rosso car. That's a Honda-powered, beautiful Coda-sponsored Red Bull Racing Toro Rosso. Coming through the first corner now. MTZ doing a good job there, keeping it nice and tidy. Wants to see some improvements. Let's have a look to see what tyres everyone's fitted on. Everyone is on them ultra soft tyres, apart from Danny, who's gone to the super softs. Potentially a bit risky from him. First section nice and tidy from MTZ. Yellow flags in sector 1. That's probably all coming up track nice and early. We'll have a look at Cherry 2 Pie shortly to see if him and Pit Matt are going for extreme advantage for one of them. I'd imagine Cherry 2 Pie, because he's showing more pace compared to Pit Matt as things currently stand. And there is the invite from Andy. We'll finish this up and then we'll jump on board with Andy. So Andy is back and here running and living the dream. So MTZ then coming through the middle section. Going to come through 11 and 12 now. Let's see what he can do. Let's have a look. Listen to that engine. Lovely does it there. He seems to take it perfectly as he ramps up 7th gear into 8th. DRS wide open. Third person shots now as he comes through this final section. As he emerges into this final section now, wants to hug the apex and then clip it and go as wide as possible. Extend that. Maximum power gives him perfect exit there. A little lock up, but he's going to do a good job here as he darts into the pits. MTZ has ruined it for me. I thought he was going to complete it. Apologies for the blue screen you're about to see. We're going to rejoin with Andy and give myself a bit of a breather. So there we go, we have rejoined with Andy, and I believe my suspicions may well... Oh no, they're not, in fact. Cherry 2 Pie and Pit that aren't slipstreaming at the moment, that is. They're pretty close on track, but it looked like they may be slipstream boosting. Andy, welcome back. Are you in the lobby?
I am in the lobby, I am seeing things, I'm hoping everything's now working.
Your mic sounds good.
I reset everything, I've kicked everybody off the internet for the next hour and says don't even think about it, and hopefully that'll all play well. Really interested to come back for this final minute and see that the 17 drivers that have set a lap are covered by a second. This is going to be very close. We mentioned the midfield last season being extremely close and giving us lots of action, and at the moment you can cover the top 13 by half a second, all on the ultra soft tyres as well. So this is looking like it's going to be a really interesting race. Ash at the moment in pole position. He won here last season in F2. Can he repeat that, and can he try and get a better season than what he had last season? He won the first race and then sort of tailed away towards the end, so he's in prime position just now. But with 30 seconds to go, they're all lining up through the last corner. Who's your money on then, Ollie? Because you've been watching this a bit more than me while I fix things.
Well, it's a tough one to say. I'm going to ride on board here with Tactician, who looks to be one of the first guys to come across the line with just over 20 seconds remaining in this session. Ash has looked good, Nolan as well has shown some solid pace. They're all separated by less than around 3/4 of a tenth. So the Ferrari guys in Tactician and Joglar could be up there. Tactician is doing a good job. Nolan has crossed the line and improved and gone to the top step of the guys at the moment. He's got provisional pole, but Tactician's coming through the final 2 corners. Just a little front left lock up as he's going to shift it through. The Snake only moves up into 17th, 9 tenths off the top time from Nolan. Across the line comes the Ferrari of Tactician, and he moves up into pole position. I did keep an eye on him. The pad runner from last year, the veteran, moved from Red Bull to Ferrari. He's on pole.
Yeah, very good lap time there from Tactician. They put it on pole. Nolan jumped up to second as well, ahead of Ash, who's coming through the extremely fast chicane section towards the end of sector 3 just now. We'll see if the Mercedes driver can do anything. Veal's finished his lap in 6th. Zenqui has retired from the session, possibly on track as well. The green flags are back out there, so that's not going to do anything at the moment, and it's changing it out. Bastian, I think is how you say, that's gone up to 4th place at the moment, as here comes Ash across the line line one here. He was on pole last season as Francis goes into pole. Can Ash do anything to improve on his time? He does, only by about 100th of a second, stays in 4th place. Looking out for Joglar now. Next one to come across the line is the Ferrari driver. He's got a little bit of slipstream off of one of the Force Indias ahead by the looks of it. We'll see if Joglar can make any improvement in his lap time as he crosses over. No improvement from the second Ferrari, so that's not going to work. Nolan's having a slow lap in, and everyone else has finished by the looks of it. So I think our grid is set, Ollie, because everyone has, everyone's crossed the line except Nolan, and he's just slowing down to allow the Ferrari to go through there, so he's not been happy with the lap. So Francis takes pole position by 6/100ths of a second, and the entire field are covered by 1.3 seconds if you ignore Danny at the bottom, who had his own connection issues. Nice to know it's not just me.
Yeah, Blizzard has not taken to the challenge as people have given him the odds-on favourite for the championship. Starts in P13. Francis and Cherry 2 Pie had a couple of words on social media as Francis predicted himself to have a good season, and Cherry 2 Pie took offence to it and put him down as a dark horse. There's a bit of drama between the two of them, but it is Francis who gets the upper hand. Cherry 2 Pie down in 7th will be disappointed with that, considering how he started qualifying, looking really sharp, but still, it's got all the makings of a very, very exciting Grand Prix here this afternoon at Melbourne Park.
Definitely so. It's going to be a very interesting race. We're going to be struggling to keep up with everything, especially in the early stages of just how close everybody is in qualifying. If they carry that across, obviously, into the race, it's going to be a tricky one. But it's Francis who takes pole position, a 1:19.2 tactician in second place, just 6/100ths down. Then it's Nolan in third, Ash in 4th, Bastian in 5th, Joglar 6th, Cherry 2 Pie in 7th, Veal in 8th, Jump in 9th, and MTZ rounds out the top 10. All in Ultra Sauce, half a second separates them. Then it's R2 in 11th, Zenqui in 12th, Blizzard 13th, Raymith in 14th, Luca 15th, Pitmap in 16th, The Snake in 17th, Jammy James as being a Jammy Dodger down in 18th, and Danny will start at the back of the field in 19th position. So very, very close field we've got here. We've seen a lot of it last season where we've struggled to keep an eye on it all sometimes. We'll do our best. It's a tricky one, no? I mean, we usually will have our predictions, and I'll probably end up cursing people again and making them retire, but it's a tricky one, this one. I'm struggling who I'm going to pick here, to be honest. Are you any ideas?
Well, the defending champion has full confidence in his abilities, and I'll be completely honest with you, just casually lifting and looking at my trophy that I ordered off eBay. Great bargain, £5. I got it engraved that said the F2's greatest commentator. Maybe one day you can have it. They don't ship to Scotland though, third world country and all that. I want to point out a lot of Finnish drivers on the grid. I only just realised this. There's a lot of them. But predictions wise, I'm going to go for Blizzard, starting down in 13th. Luckily for Blizzard, he wasn't picked by you, otherwise his race would end in some form of misery. But there's a lot of hype on Blizzard, and I think him having that poor qualifying can maybe go under the radar a little bit and force his way through. There's a couple of drivers who are consistent. Pitmat, for example, great race pace, but I'm going to go for Blizzard as the formation lap gets underway.
Blizzard starting on the soft tyres as well, the hardest compound available, one of 4 drivers to do so, along with Raymith, Pitmap and the Snake. And all the other drivers outside the top 10 have gone for the super soft tyres, and of course the top 10 all starting on the ultra softs. For me, oh goodness me, I really don't know, because there's some names in here that this is the first time I'm actually seeing them drive. So it's not an easy one. Those that I do know, apart from Blizzard, is pretty much further up the field as well. I'm going to put the curse on the Renault driver as Zenqui, just ahead of Blizzard in 12th, purely because outside the top 10 he's the only other driver that I've seen. I know he can be quick on his day, he can be extremely fast, and I'm going to put my neck on the line and go for the Renault driver there rather than picking someone in the top 10, just to try and keep it a little bit interesting. So I'm going with Zenqui and you're going with Blizzard. Both outside the top 10, we'll see how it goes. Watch them collide into turn number 3 probably. that'll be fun. But they're coming round the formation lap now. We thank everybody for sticking with us through the issues. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, now that I've kicked everyone else off the Wi-Fi, I'm not going to have any more problems during the race. This is Apex Online Racing F1 2018 League. It's Season 17, round number 1. The hype is real, it is back. Your Sunday nights are sorted for the next 11 weeks, well, 10 weeks if you take out the break week for Canada. And you got no better place to be. This was one of the most competitive tiers, certainly in the midfield last season, so don't go anywhere. This is going to be an extremely interesting race. You've got the drivers coming through the final sector now. You've got Francis on pole, Tactician in second, and you've got Nolan and Ashbest in fourth, Bastian fifth and Joglar sixth, and in that you have got 4 different cars out of the first 6. Only Mercedes and Ferrari getting double cars into the top 6, so could that be something that might help them later in the season with the Constructors' Championship? Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see what goes on. I will try to keep up. Obviously Ollie's controlling the cameras, and we'll try our best, and obviously we'll keep up and show you what is going on for 29 laps around Albert Park. Here we go for Sunday night Apex Online Racing Season 17, round number 1. 5 lights are on, and we're underway down under in Melbourne. And who's going to get the best start heading down towards turn 1? The pole sitter's doing a good job at the moment. Nolan's jumped up into second. We're getting 3-4 wide into turn 1. That's never going to fit there. Red Bull on the grass, but they've all managed to get through. Tactician's jumped up into third place, but Francis holds the lead. Nolan up to second. They come charging down towards turn number 3. Plenty of cars side by side through the turn, and plenty overtaking going on through the field. Joglar's moved up, fighting along with Jump for 7th and 8th. There's a Force India off track out of turn number 4. There's a Salba on the grass through 5 and 6, and we're nearly 3 wide come to turn number 6. Zenqui is rounding out the top 10. Blizzard just got ahead of the MTZ there, up into 11th place, and there's a right gaggle of them heading towards the chicane. We're going to have 3 wide as they come in nearly. No, just to manage to avoid that and carrying on well at the moment. But Cherry Tupang's moved up as well ahead of Jogger. In fact, Bastian's moving back. We're 3 wide now nearly heading into the chicane. This is going to be interesting side by side. Contact, the Ferrari's gone round in the middle of the track, and he's taken a Renault and someone else with him. Now we've got a complete traffic jam coming out of the chicane, and trust my luck, at Zenqui, I cursed him. There we go, commentator's curse is still here in Season 17, but Joglar got clipped there. I don't know who it was that clipped him, but he's obviously caused a bit of a melee. We're going to see a few drivers into pit lane, but any lap number 1, Francis still leads from Nolan and Tactician. Ollie, what have you been seeing?
Right, well, I've been seeing what the people have been saying. So,
of course, yeah.
Into the pits comes the Toro Rosso of MTZ. Pit Mac got squeezed by the pair of them, and it was a big sandwich between a lot of them. It was a big buttery Red Bull sandwich. Francis with a decent start. Nolan getting the jump on Tactician early doors. Cherry Tupai keeping it nice and clean in the early stages. 6 places gained by the mighty Blizzard. You're welcome, because you were picked by me. You're going to finish this Grand Prix. I believe early doors it's looking like a simple 1-0. Francis, though, has got himself under some serious pressure from Nolan. 2 good friends, we've been made aware they are, so we'll keep a close eye on how this goes on. There's a lot of friendship groups in here, a lot of rivalries, not as big as Sean and Cherry Tupai, probably not as big as Hamilton and Lee Finley, not to be confused with Leafy, his nickname, so to speak. But here comes Nolan, all over the rear end of Francis. He has got a fantastic exit out of turn 12. He's slipping up the inside, side by side they go, heading now into the sharp braking 90-degree corner, up the inside, and Nolan gets the place done halfway through lap 2. He now leads the Australian Grand Prix. Further behind him, oh, he's gone a little bit wide there onto the gravel. Further behind him, Tactician is under pressure from his teammate in Ash Best, with Cherry Tupai lingering in the background.
Yeah, Tactician just trying to keep Ash behind. Good move by Nolan there into the right-hander, and of course DRS will now be enabled as we move on to lap 3, so that's going to leave the race leader a little bit exposed out front there to an attack here from Francis down to turn 3, because he will have the DRS to assist him very shortly. Not down this bit because of the detection points before the end of the lap. Meanwhile, down the field, R2's just got ahead of Danny, who's now left the session, so he's still having connection issues of his own down there, and Zenqui and MTZ came in into pit lane. I apologise to Zenqui, obviously my cost is still kicking around, and that's dropped him down the field. In terms of biggest gainers though, you've got, let's see, two drivers in Blizzard and Luca who've made up 6 places in the opening laps. The other closest one to that is Jamie James down in 14th, making up 4 places. Veal, MTZ and Zenqui are your biggest losers, 9, 8 and 7 places lost respectively, and the bottom 2 have already been into pit lane, so we'll see if they can try and bring it back later on, although Zenqui's gone on the ultra soft tyres, so that's automatically committed him to a 2-top strategy as well, so that's not what you needed. Veal's just got ahead of Danny, who's obviously ghosting, but there's plenty of action through the field. In fact, Blizzard's getting Jump and Luca right behind him, coming down towards turn 13, I believe that is at the end of the 3rd DRS zone, and he's got going to be a bit of train coming up behind him if he's not careful, but on you go.
Oh yeah, sorry, it looked like, for a moment there, it looked like poor Blizzard went off the track and lost it, but I think it was just a little moment where the game went. You continue.
Yeah, no, I did see that. Looked like that was the case because he never moved on my screen, but I did see the Salba of Jomp running wide in the background. That allowed Luca through and up into 8th place. Meanwhile, back up front, Nolan is managing to keep these guys at bay behind despite the lack of DRS to help him now. He's got 7 tenths, so he's got himself just enough of a gap to stay out of range at the moment. Tactician and Ash are staying pretty close behind. Cherry 2 Pie sitting in 5th place. He's a second behind these guys. He's got 1.5 seconds over Bastien in the Renault in 6th place, and I believe it was Bastien's Renault that caused the incident through the chicane, clipping the Ferrari of Jogler, turning it wide and causing a huge traffic jam. We'll need to wait and see if that's the case. Meanwhile, behind that is Blizzard, running a bit wide there into the chicane before heading down to the fast chicane, but he's got away with that. He's in 7th at the moment. Luca in 8th, Jump in 9th, and R2 rounds out the top 10. We've still got plenty of action going on, and back up front though, Nolan's looking pretty comfortable at the moment, out in the lead, nearly a second clear, so he's nearly out of DRS range at the moment. Meanwhile, he's the other Mercedes in 4th place. Ash is crawling all over the back of Tactician's Ferrari up ahead. He's going to have DRS down here to assist him, but so does the Ferrari. It's going to help him defend as well, heading down towards turn 1. Can Ash get a good run out of turn 1 and 2 and maybe try and attack down into turn 3, but it looks like Tactician's got a good run as well, so he's going to have to wait and play it patient as keeping pit stops before we see any moves from them. But your pick Blizzard on the soft tyres as well. He's going to be running long in this race, 7th place already, and he's not too far off the lead as well. His gap to the leader is only 7.5 seconds, so he's still well in this at the moment, but you need to get a wee bit of a move on before long. Pit map and Jogler having a battle into turn 3. Up the inside goes the Ferrari, but the Red Bull holding on to that position for 12th, and Jogler trying to make his way back to the field, bumped into the wall there a little bit. That's going to allow the Williams there, the Jamie James, to try and go round the outside, heading up into turn 6 and 7, and he does do so. So Jogler getting squeezed out there by pit map, and that's cost him, they're not just the place to pit map, but he also lost out to Jamie James as well. That's over 12th, 13th and 14th battles going on all the way through the field. Nolan though out front is now out of DRS range. That's very important for him moving on as we come up to the end of lap 5.
Yeah, Pitmat was making a manoeuvre there on Jogler. It was a bit of a questionable one, but I think it's a racing incident. It was just a little squeeze, and I don't think he expected him to try and go around the outside. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. Top 4, all very, very tight on board of Ash, who's going to get the perfect view. A little bit wavy there. I've got to say, the Mercedes lineup and the McLaren lineup look like it's going to give us one hell of a battle this season. I'm hoping we could have an actual real championship challenge, because last season Sean did have somewhat of a challenge but was dominant. I was about to mention their Cherry 2 Pie could mount a subtle one and maybe just be calm and simple and just buy this time, and he could have a chance of picking up some big points here if these lots on a bunch up. But he's just made a silly mistake there and got himself a lovely time penalty. So for his sake, that's not ideal, but there's still plenty of racing to be done here in Melbourne's Alberts Park. It's a fantastic track, a street circuit that isn't really a street circuit. High speed, overtaking is tough. So that move from Nolan early on Francis, we saw last season how tough it was to overtake. It is a real difficult one round here, so an impressive manoeuvre from Nolan early doors.
Definitely so. Name me a more apt pairing as Cherry 2 Pie and 3-second time penalty. I'll wait, you won't be able to find one.
No, I can give you one. A video on Twitter. They're very good. They could
yeah,
we'll
leave that one well alone and just not go there. R2's just flew by his teammate Jump there. That looked like a bit of team orders there. Maybe R2 is feeling a bit quicker at the moment with Jump. Maybe the Ultrasoft starting to go away on his salvo. Doesn't want to hold his teammate up, but Nolan's doing really well. He's 1.5 seconds clear and looking comfortable at the moment out in front, out of DRS range. Francis not quite out of DRS range on Tactician, who's still got Ash all over the rear end of that Ferrari. Cherry 2 Pie sitting in the distance, a couple of seconds back, but he's got prime box off the seat to watch it from a distance, and he's got a bit of a gap over the cars behind, so he'll be pretty chuffed with that one there. A look down at the field, Joglars came into the pits again. That's his second stop. He did pick up wing damage, I believe, from that incident we've seen with Pitmap, because he did change his wing there. Meanwhile, the Snake is just flew on up the inside into turn 3 on Jamie James. He's now got the inside line for turn 4, and that was a late move, but a very good move as well, indeed, from the Toro Rosso driver. It's got him through. Now Jamie's got Veal up behind him, his teammate, going to try and make a move into turn 6 and 7, but has to back out. Veal picks up a 3-second time penalty there for cutting the corner. Meanwhile, back up front though, Tactician's closed up onto the back of Francis as well. That was 0.7 of a second at the start of the lap. It's now down to just around about 3-4 tenths, so the Ferrari is starting to close up to that Mercedes. Is Francis maybe playing a game here to help his teammate out, or is this just the start of the Ultrasofts starting to fall off the cliff for the guys up front? Remember, not only have they done 6 laps in the race, and here we go, in fact, Francis and Tactician into pit lane along with Nolan. Ash carries on for another lap. Luca and Blizzard are having a bit of a battle as well, with Luca diving into pit lane, so the pit stop phase has begun. Ash takes over the lead. Cherry 2 Pines now in second, with Bastian in third, and Blizzard up to 4th place. And just have a look and see, I'm expecting it to pretty much be soft tyres for pretty much everybody here this early in the race, and it is indeed. So lap 8, the pit stop phase has begun. You've got to expect that Ash, Cherry 2 Pie and Bastian will be in next lap, though. It would be a bit suicidal for the race if they carry on much longer on those tyres.
Early doors, expected pit stops around about this time. It's kind of expected, but for Blizzard this is an important phase of the race. He needs to keep it cool, calm and collected. He's on the soft compound tyres when he's the highest runner of the ultimate strategy, with R2 more than likely not going to be making much of an impact. He'll have to pit for the soft compound tyres, I would imagine. He won't be getting onto an ultra soft. A very strange choice to go onto the super soft tyres, if I'm honest, but Blizzard is a dark horse in this Grand Prix and could well be challenging for the Grand Prix victory. Nolan hasn't really pulled away too much on Francis. It was 1.5, it's 1.6 now, so I've got to be honest with you, he wasn't pulling away at all, and I was expecting him to, once he got past and the pace Francis was showing, maybe, just maybe, would start to show some signs of pulling away. Ash with some clean air though could well go for the overcut here, with Cherry 2 Pie and himself darting into the pits now, so these two are ones to be keeping a close eye on. We'll have a look on board with, I think Nolan's probably going to be the best person because it will be tight, but I think the Mercedes has been released just ahead of the the Renault, so he's done a good job there, the team have, to get him out, because he could have got held up by some traffic. Nolan coming down the start-finish straight now. It's going to be close between the two of them, just looking for him to emerge, and I believe Nolan has, he's got the move done. Francis is ahead of his teammate. His teammate has got ahead of Tactician, however, so that's an important one for Ash. He's got ahead of Tactician. The overcut has worked a treat for him. Tactician's not got up to speed. Cherry 2 Pie has got himself involved though. He's a little bit closer and can see these guys just ahead of him. Good pit stop there for the Mercedes guys, as it's currently a net second and third for them.
Definitely. So I think Tactician lost out badly in the pit stop. I didn't see what happened, but I get the feeling he's maybe been held up with another car coming through pit lane, because he went into pit lane right on the gearbox of Francis and he came out about 2.5 seconds down. So it's a horrible pit stop phase for the Ferrari driver, and it's cost him net third place to Ash as well once the pit stop phase works its way out. We've got Blizzard in the lead with R2 in second, Raymith is in third, and Pitmap in fourth, with the Snake in fifth. Those guys still to make their pit stop in this race so far. They're still on the tyres they started with. All of them, apart from I think R2, in fact all of them were outside the top 10 actually, sorry, to get a bit mixed up there with the Salvas. So I would expect to see R2 in within the next maybe 3 or 4 laps. The softs can probably go to about 16 to 18 depending on how good they are with the setup. So It'll be interesting to see what happens later on in the race, but Tactician's really got to get the hammer down now, having lost out in that pit stop phase. He's not got to worry about Cherry 2 Pie behind him, because the Red Bull is still a couple of seconds back as he was earlier on as well, so he can concentrate on Ash up ahead, and he needs to make any moves work. But Nolan looking good at the moment, 1.8 seconds clear now of Francis in 6th place, which will become the net lead of the race once the pit stop phase works its way out. Meanwhile, back up front, actually, R2 is closing in onto the back of Blizzard, and I'm quite surprised by that, because R2 is on the super soft tyres, which will be going off a bit quicker than those soft tyres in the McLaren. I wonder if Blizzard's maybe made a mistake somewhere in that lap, I'm not too sure, but that's allowed the Silva to close right up onto the back of the McLaren, and he's surely going to be in the pit soon, but he might fancy his chances of leading the lap before he does so.
Yeah, the partnership of Ash and Tactician are starting to gain onto the back of Francis, who's dropping slightly. He's 5 tenths back now from Nolan from when they pitted, so Nolan is starting to chug away, and Ash and Tactician are slowly but surely starting to minimise the gap between them two and the Mercedes ahead of them. Cherry 2 Pie really in no man's land. Vile further down is all over the rear end of MTZ as they come out of turn 12. Let's see what he can do there as he heads down. DRS available to him. Lovely straight line speed up the inside. Later on the braking, much fresher tyres on them soft compounds compared to his super softs, and that is him up into P13, which could be an important move there if he wants to get some solid points on his first F2 Grand Prix this evening. Cherry 2 Pie pretty disappointing so far for his standards. You'd normally expect him to be doing a little bit better than he currently is. Pit Matt and Raymeef and Blizzard, who are the alternate runners on the soft compound tyres, they're all doing a solid job as things stand, with the Snake just behind these three from 3rd down to 5th. They have got Nolan starting to come into the rear end of them, so I don't think they're going to be involved in an opportunity to win this Grand Prix. The quicker Blizzard though comes into the pits, the better for him, and he can then start to ramp up and get going on his pace, because we do know that he could be a danger later on in the Grand Prix, especially if he's coming onto a set of the ultra soft tyres.
Definitely, so it'll be interesting to see if he does feel he can get to the stage where he can put ultra softs on. It's a bit obviously dangerous if you come in early, you could end up wearing them out, end up with possibly high tyre wear late in the race, maybe even get a puncture, so it's trying to find the right time for it. He's managed to get out of DRS range in R2 at the moment as well, so that's definitely going to help his cause a little bit too. Pit Map's closing in onto the back of Raymeef, which is for 3rd and 4th. The Snake's not too far off any needs now, and Nolan is now closing in onto the back of this, so the net race leader is closing in. You can see them all in the one picture there nearly on my screen. I could anyway. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all in one shot down towards turn number 1, and that McLaren is looking pretty quick here this evening so far, and looking almost peerless at the moment. He's keeping it nice and tidy, and he's doing a very good job just now. Tactician just doesn't seem to have anything for Ash at the moment. He's still there in DRS range, he just can't get close enough to the back of that Mercedes to make a move, and I just sort of wonder if this is maybe just the sort of pace that the Finns got, and if that's just how it's going to be for him. But Nolan's closing in on the back of that Toro Rosso very quickly, and I get the feeling he's going to have a move out of the chicane under DRS towards turn 13.
Yeah, Nolan hunting him down. It has to be quickly mentioned though, that Tactician, of course, at the end of last season in F2, did run his wheel, and as Casper's just reminded me, this is his first full season running the wheel, and he's showing some good solid pace. Here comes the McLaren of Nolan. He got a manoeuvre done earlier on Francis here. He can't get it done on the Snake in the Toro Rosso. This is somewhat of traffic for him, which could give the likes of Francis, Ash and Tactician an opportunity to maybe take advantage of this. You can see the gaggle of cars coming through the final 2 corners. They're continuing going. Nolan needs to dispatch of these nice and quickly, otherwise he could be under threat from Francis, who is starting to gain. Into the pits comes R2 on the super soft compound tyres, releasing all these guys ahead of him as they're all starting to filter their way through. Right on board with Nolan, who's going to get a lovely line here and a great bit of slipstream. DRS available to him as he's going to slot up the inside. I don't think the Toro Rosso can do much. He can't, and up the inside there goes Nolan. He moves himself up to into P4, but that is a net lead of the Grand Prix once the guys ahead of him come into the pit lane. Pit Matt battling with the Force India of Raymeef as well. Up ahead, it's all starting to get a little bit interesting at the halfway stage. Lap 13 of 29.
Yeah, definitely getting interesting indeed. Easy move there for Nolan. I think Snake just realised he's on fresher tyres, so there's no point in fighting it. It's just going to ruin his own race if he did that. He's not in this race with Nolan. Jamie James is retired from the race. I'll see if I can find what happened to the Williams driver, but its yellow flags have disappeared back in. But Nolan making the move. He needs to get through the traffic as quick as he can. As you say, it does allow Francis the chance to get back through. And Jamie James has lost it through turn 1 and 2. Williams in the wall outside the 2. It should be cleared quick enough to avoid any safety car, but that's put him out the race. So we've got our first DNF here as we approach half distance, and it's Jamie James in the Williams who is out of the race. Meanwhile, Blizzard will be happy at this battle going on between Raymith, Pitmap, Nolan, Snake, because it's just allowing him to pull clear. He's got a 6-second gap now at the moment up front. Meanwhile, Nolan up the inside of Pitmap into turn number 1. Pretty easy move, even with DRS for both of them there, and McLaren is through and up another place. He sets his targets now firmly locked onto the back of that Force India. Comes through turn 3, and I'd expect him to be having a move down into turn 13 at the end of the next DRS straight, but he's now up to 3rd place and on his way to doing pretty well. Danny's now out of the race as well, so I'll jump back on board with Zenqui, see what happened to Danny as well. But Nolan starting to motor his way through the field, just getting the timing right with the DRS, and he's now made his way up to 3rd place, and he'll soon be onto the back of that Force India. Danny straight on into the second last corner. If you think we're Roman Grosjean parked the car this year, that is where you'll find Danny's Haas, and he is out of the race. So 2 retirements in quick succession. But meanwhile, Nolan now out of that fast chicane on the DRS, and Zenqui's out retired in pit lane as well. But here comes Nolan to the outside. Could have given him a cup of tea and a biscuit. Could still have got that braking done well before that. DRS helping him easily there, and that's him through and up into 2nd place. Meanwhile, Francis just done the exact same thing on the Snake behind into turn 13 as well. So Francis moving through, and that was Raymith coming into pit lane. So that's going to remove another one for Francis at least, as he tries to keep up with Nolan as he makes his way through the field. But Blizzard leads 5.7 seconds the gap to his teammate Nolan in 2nd. And always muted the mic again, haven't you?
No, apologies, yeah, I muted it just to give you full thing there. I did just have a quick notice. I got a little bit worried. I actually thought it might have been a crash where Francis went into the Renault of Zenqui, who come into the pits, and I completely forgot he retired, and I thought he was turning into a completely whole car and was going to crash out, and that was going to be drama. But I was going to say, Francis has really struggled to dispatch of this traffic, and in fact you can see the gap that Nolan has pulled out. Here comes Francis on pit, mate. He's going to try and go around the outside. A little bit of wheel barging, almost ended in dangerous contact there between the two of them. But yeah, Francis is really struggling to get past this traffic, which could be a big issue throughout the season. Pitmat's defending that inside line. He's doing it for his teammate. Francis can't go round the outside here, and Pitmat's doing a great job of defending as things currently stand. He swoops through turns 12. Here's Francis going to get a good run here. Pitmat's going to take the inside line, make Francis. No, Francis switches late up the inside. Is he going to get it stuck? Pitmat goes round the outside, wheel barging between the two of them. Pitman having to defend against the Toro Rosso. He swoops it round the outside. He can't hold it, and the Snake takes full advantage and gets himself up into net P4. In P4 at the moment. I'm not sure what the net position is. Probably around the lower half of the points. A great manoeuvre from the Snake. Francis, though, has dropped 4 seconds behind Nolan. I don't think he's going to be having much of a chance of catching him. It's probably between Nolan and Blizzard for the win of this Grand Prix. Matt now has to look at Ash behind him and Tactician. Well, very, very tight. What this has done, though, is it's allowed his teammate Cherry 2by to get involved, who's looked in no man's land for the majority of this Grand Prix. He now has an opportunity to battle potentially for a podium here. An absolute gaggle of cars from from 3rd all the way down to 8th in Cherry 2by, separated by minimal amounts of time. A great showing from these drivers. In fact, it is so tight down there. They're separated by around about two seconds, around about that sort of mark. So they are really tight. I'm not sure who your money is on for them final few podium places, but I think we could be chopping and changing quite a few times. Pitmat really showing some good signs, though. Great battling from him.
Definitely, so opportunistic from the Snake though to sneak up the inside there as well. It's hard, it's going to the top position at the moment looks like it's Nolan's to lose at the moment. Second and third, well, it's going to change more times than a fruit machine in a pub on a Friday night as Tactician looks up the inside at Ash but can't do anything there into turn 13 for another time, and again he is stuck behind that gearbox at that Mercedes. The Snake is still to make his pit stop at the moment. Meanwhile Blizzard, at the moment if Blizzard comes into the pits he's going to drop out in 9th place. He's got a 22-second gap to jump. The Snakes came into the pit lane, so that dispatches him out of the way for the guys in there. But if Blizzard came in now, he would drop 9th place, possibly should be actually 8th place now because of the Snake pit. And then it's going to give him enough laps to still be able to come through the field and try and challenge for the place. He's having to defend hard there against Ash, taking the inside line as the fancied its chances there of getting the move done. He wants to get a move on and get through because Tactician and Cherry 2Pi are right behind Pitmap, and Blizzard are the only two drivers that are still to pit in this race as we come towards closing stages. We're now on lap 17 of 29. Pit having to defend against the bit of wheel hanging there again between him and Ash, but no damage done, and Ash just got to play it a bit cool here, stick with him through the fast chicane and get him under the DRS, but look, he can't hang around too long. This Tactician and Cherry 2Pi are right here as well. Here we go, DRS for the three cars behind. Pitmap's going to be a bit of a sitting duck, you'd think. Ash goes to the outside line, but that Red Bull's got some good pace in a straight line. Ash is off the track. Where's Tactician? He's going to sneak up the inside here. He's finally going to get the move done on the Mercedes, and here comes Cherry 2Pi having sat out as well. Late lunge up the inside, switchback from the Red Bull driver. A little bit of a bump there. Ash holds on to the position, but Tactician doing what he needed, and it was Pitmap that done all of that for him there, and he took advantage. Blizzard and Pitmap now into pit lane. Blizzard onto a set of super soft tyres. He should rejoin in 7th position where he is. I'll keep an eye on him, but battling going on there, and very opportunistic from Tactician as he comes out. Blizzard coming out of pit lane, and he's just behind both the Salbas, so that's not worked out as I expected there for the McLaren driver. He's going to have to really get a move on quickly, and he's going to try and take R2 straight away. Oh, switchback, nearly a huge collision between the two of them there as R2 went back to the racing line and Blizzard switched to the inside, but that McLaren needs to get a move on. We'll keep an eye on his progress through the field, but that puts Nolan back into the lead of the race from Francis, and the opportunistic Tactician currently on for, oh, Luca's out of the race as Cherry 2Pi. He sneaks up the inside off Ash Best. I'm not too sure what's happened to Luca, unfortunately. He's already left the session, and that's our 4th DNF at Cherry 2Pi. Battling with Ash here, that looked very close to a contact going into the chicane there, and Cherry 2Pi sneaking through, and here comes Bastian on Ash, and it's going from bad to worse for the Mercedes driver, and he's now going to have the Renault lining up a move on him in a moment. But Tactician very opportunistic and now on for a possible podium if he can keep the pace towards the end of the race. Blizzard has just dispatched R2 into turn 13 at the end of the DRS straight, so he's now up to 8th place. His next target, the other Salba of Jump, and then he's got an 8-9 second gap to everybody else, so he really needs to make this move and jump as quickly as possible and get the hammer down. And he's muted it again.
No, you know, I'm trying to do what you do, but it's difficult multitasking. Leave me alone.
Feel my pain, thank you.
But yeah, as I was saying, you can now breathe and relax. Get yourself a nice swig of Highland spring water and enjoy yourself a quick break. As I think Ash may have picked up a little bit of damage from the incident where Cherry 2Pi dove up the inside. On Cherry 2Pi's manoeuvre, a long sweeping move round the outside. He's starting to fly a little bit with Tactician on his rear end. Bastian is going at a decent pace, almost onto the rear end of Ash there as he comes into the sharp braking zone. I think it could be tight between them. Blizzard though is absolutely flying. He's got Jump within his sights, and I think he might be able to get it done before turn 11. I think it's probably going to be turn 13 where he's going to be able to get this one done now. It's going to be all about his exit. Can he get the slipstream? I think he's going to get this manoeuvre done nice and quickly. Much fresher tyres and everybody around him. Let's see what he can do. He's absolutely flying. Jump has pulled over to one side and let the McLaren through. And Blizzard on the alternate strategy moves up into P7. Last year he was probably mid-table driver. This year he's pushing for the championship up into P7. 8.4 seconds to Bastian, who has got a long train of cars ahead of him. So it is nice and tight. Cherry 2 Point onto Tactician, though, I think could be the battle to keep a close eye on for the podium, but I still think Blizzard is probably going to get that final podium spot, as he's now set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He is flying, and I don't think it'll be long until we start to see him onto the rear end of ERL Bastion.
No, definitely not. It's a 19 seconds to the lead, but that's not the gap to look for. The gap you're looking at is between Tactician and Blizzard, and that gap is 11 seconds. And Tactician is having to defend now from Cherry 2 Pie behind, who's really come on strong into the second part of the race. Maybe he was just playing it safe early doors, making sure he didn't get himself caught up in any incidents, and now just start to turn the wick up. Maybe saved himself a bit of fuel early doors. Ash is still holding off Bastion behind in the Renault. He may have some wing damage, who knows, nothing visible on the cameras, but he has dropped off the back of Cherry 2 Pie by over a second now, so out of DRS range, and that gives the Renault all the opportunities possible to try and make that move. Cherry 2 Pie lining Tactician up, but nothing he can do there at the moment. Blizzard's gap to this battle between Ash and Bastion is 7 seconds, so keep an eye on that. He's got 10 laps to go, as Pitmap has got Raymouth and Joglar behind him, so he's in a sandwich at the moment, and these guys are pretty much nose to tail. Coming down to turn 13, does the Red Bull go for one up the inside? No. Joglar's going to try and go the long way round and gets it out of shape big time, but holds it. And he holds on at the moment to staying in 14th, live to fight another day, as Blizzard sets another fastest lap of the race. So he's absolutely flying on those super soft tyres. Meanwhile, Bastion's still unable to get past on Ash, and they're actually starting to close up a little bit to Cherry 2 Pie and Tactician. As those two start to fight, these guys will close in on them, and all that will do will give Blizzard a great chance to close up even quicker than what he was hoping to do. Not long to go in this race. If you have been watching along, as always, we thank you for joining us on your Sunday evening with me and Ollie here. Who do you think, as we get close to the end of the race, who do you think is the driver of the race? Pop it down below, tell us what you think. Obviously me and Ollie will have our thoughts on it at the checkered flag, but at the moment 6 seconds is the gap between Nolan and Francis up front. The top two look set, but the third place is definitely up for grabs. It's anybody's guess who takes that one.
Yeah, it's been a chaotic Grand Prix. I think we have to give a big shout out to Pitmat, who has caused some of the best racing this afternoon so far. Cherry 2 Pie looks to be struggling to catch him, the Tactician up further ahead. France has just ridden onto the grass and kicked up one hell of a mighty amount of dirt into the atmosphere. Andy, I was about to look and give a rundown on the penalties, but I can't do that as I'm streaming, so you're going to have to take over my role of penalty master in that regard. So if you could get that ready.
I will go and have a look. If you can carry on and out, I will jot it down. Not a
yes, thank you very much, Andy. We'll get that done nice and shortly. Cherry 2 Pie up the inside, later on the brakes, locks up the front right-hand tyre, but he's got it slowed down, and he's got the place done, and that is him up into a podium. He loves a good interview after the Grand Prix. His teammate Pitmat, down in 12, has got himself past Raymouth, and that is Cherry 2 Pie up into third. But I do think he could have some questions from Tactician behind him, who is looking nice and sharp. Next up for Cherry 2 Pie is Francis. Blizzard is flying a second a lap. He's gaining on the cars ahead of him. It might be tough to get a podium, however.
Definitely so. I'm still trying to work my way through the penalties because I couldn't find my pen. It rolled under the bed, so I'm still working through that in the moment. But plenty of action going on behind me. I will get the penalties to you as quickly as possible. Sorry for the dummy.
No worries, I'll continue going as we were. So Cherry 2 Pie just holding the place on Tactician. 5 tenths behind him is the Ferrari, who's doing a good job. Bastion 9 tenths back. Ash is starting to struggle as expected. I think he has some form of damage. I'm not too sure. I think he picked up something. Well, it's hard to tell in this game. Blizzard is absolutely flying. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty. We had that to your jossings, Andy. It's a shame that, because he's been doing a solid job. So please, in the comments down below, I know there's quite a few people watching, and we've got a few on the stream, so please do let us know who your driver of the day is and what you think this means for the championship. For me, now I'm going to say this, not because of the performance and the way they're finishing, but for the battling and the way they were on their tyres. For me, Pitmat deserves a hell of a lot of credit, because the battling he had with them top guys who are much quicker than him on much fresher tyres, and he did create some fantastic battle, and he's the reason, really. Great teamwork, wingman of the day. Davidos has gone, but the ultimate wingman is back in Pitmat. He's helped his teammate Cherry 2 Pie and got him in P3. Andy, have you got some penalties for us?
I do. I'm nearly at the bottom of the list, but some interesting news for you. Nolan has 3 3-second time penalties. He's got 9 seconds worth of penalties, and he picked up a stop-go penalty, so unsure if that was for speeding in pit lane, so that could be something added to his time at the end. We'll need to wait and see. Meanwhile, Francis has got 2 3-second time penalties for track limits, and he also picked up a stop-go penalty as well at the same time for speeding in pit lane. In fact, Nolan's actually got 4 3-second time penalties, possibly by the looks of it. I'm just trying to work my way through it. Yeah, he does. Nolan's got at least 4 time penalties. That's 12 seconds worth of penalties. So the win is still completely up for grabs at the moment, as it's going to absolutely go like an absolute slot machine by the end of this when they all cross the line. Tactician's got a penalty as well. Cherry 2 Pie's got 1 also. Blizzard's now got 2 or 3. Ash has got 1 too. So there's quite a lot of penalties. Nolan's got 5 actually. I'm still running through the list. That's how far down this is going. So Nolan's got 5 penalties for 3 seconds exceeding track limits, plus a stop goal. Francis, it looks like, has got 2, Cherry 2 Pie's got 2, Blizzard's got 2, Tactician's got 1, and Ash has got 1. So this is anybody's race still as we come into the final stages, if with those amount of penalties. So this isn't over yet. The win is still fully up for grabs.
Yeah, it's a little bit irritating, isn't it, how we have to do some maths. I thought I'd left that back in the old GCSEs days. That was the last time I wanted to get anywhere near that. Got my C grade, and I bolted. Never again will I be using a calculator and fractions. It's just all about whipping it into a, I will use a calculator. It's all about whipping into the calculator. Who wants to do mental maths? Nobody. That's a fact of the day. Francis picking up a 3-second time penalty there. Not ideal from him. Mathematically, I'm not sure if you've got it there, but I'm not sure who's currently going to win this Grand Prix. I think Tactician maybe has a good chance. I'm not too sure. Blizzard maybe. I'm not sure how many penalties he has. I've seen him have 3 seconds. How many has Blizzard got? 2. So
2, I think, what I can see.
This is going to be a tough one.
Cherry's got 2. Tactician's only got the 1 to what I've seen, so he could be.
I think Tactician then. Oh, he's got. Well, Tactician's got a second now. So, how much has Francis got?
Francis has got 2 plus a stop goal. As that Bastian's just going up the inside the Ash there to turn 3, but again the Mercedes holds on. But yeah, Francis has got 2 and a stop goal. Nolan's up to 5 and a stop goal. And obviously, because it was done for pit lane speeding, I don't think they served that in pit lane, so that's added to the end of time at the end of the race as well, I do believe. So I can't do maths quick enough, unfortunately. The only one good at that is Carol Vorderman, and she's not here. We couldn't afford her salary to be able to do all the maths for us. So this is anybody's still. Joglar doing the fastest lap of the race on a City Ultra Sauce, but he's down in 15th and well off the pace. So 25 for 29 done. I think Tactician, if he can avoid any more penalties. Mind you, Cherry 2 Pie's on 2 warnings as well. And Ash is only on, I think, 1, but he's dropping back, so I really don't know who's going to win this. This is really up in the air at the moment to who's going to be first, second and third, just purely based on those penalties. So this is going to be absolutely incredible as we come through the race. So, well, the lap 26 to 29, 4 to go. It's anybody's guess at the moment, Ollie.
Yeah, Cherry 2 Pie mathematically is on for the race win as things currently stand. Francis and Nolan have got, I've just double checked there for the stream to let people know, Nolan and Francis have too many. In fact, I don't even think they're going to make the top 6. Blizzard, though, has a chance if he can push through and maybe get onto the rear end. It's Tactician versus Cherry 2 Pie. It's technically the net battle for the lead of this Grand Prix as Ville has crashed out. Let's see if we can see where that is. I think it's down at turn 1. I think he may have retired in the pit lane. Yeah, he has. He's retired in the pit lane, so he has called it a day. But Cherry 2 Pie is on for the race victory here, unless Tactician can mount some form of comeback and pressure onto him. Keep a close eye on the penalties and warnings, because I think Cherry 2 Pie may be close to another one, which could sum it up and could well be the most Cherry 2 Pie thing ever. How many times last season, Andy, did he get pole position? The answer, 3. How many race victories did he get? 0. He didn't convert a single one, and he is now on for a first win in AOR F2 at least, and the first win of the season. It could be pure chaos from him, and it'd be a fantastic thing. We'll love to hear from him. Francis and him have already started a bit of a mini rivalry. Francis will have it on the track, but Cherry 2 Pie may well have the last laugh. But another side note is that Nolan has pulled out 7.2 seconds. The gap-wise, I'm going to quickly look at Nolan's penalties.
It's 15 seconds and a stop go at least.
Yeah, so 15 seconds and a stop go. It's
get dropped by Blizzard easily.
Yeah, he you know, this will be Cherry 2Pi's, I think, his first win since season 15. Oh, Big C's literally just put it in the chat. Yeah, it is his first win since season 15. Big up Connor there, quick on the maths as well. So yeah, it's going to be a big one for him. We'll keep a close eye because Tactician is somewhat close, but the pace that Francis is dropping behind Nolan is actually a little bit worrying, because that means that there's a potential chance if Nolan can get one of his penalties removed, maybe he could still get this net win later on. But as things stand, Cherry 2Pi will win this Grand Prix. He's onto the rear end of on Francis here. Maybe not the quickest on the day, that would be Nolan, but if you pick up them penalties, you've only got yourself to Blaze. Joglar is now the 6th retiree in this Grand Prix. Francis switches in front of Cherry 2Pi later on the brakes there. A movement under braking, and Cherry 2Pi and him come together. Dangerous defending from Francis up the inside. Contact. Oh, a little bit wavy between the two of them, but Cherry 2Pi's got it done. He's now barging. He's pushed him off the track. Here comes Tactician, potentially for the win. Oh, lap 28 of 29. It's getting interesting. We're going to ride on board with the Ferrari. Francis and Cherry, I mentioned the rivalry. He's got his elbows up, and this is now getting very tasty. Another chance for Cherry 2Pi. Who's that? That's Joglar. Going really slow, and Cherry 2Pi has got a little bit wavy because he didn't realise he was ghosted. This is an opportunity for Tactician now. Can he get it done up the inside? No, he can't. This is pure chaos as things currently stand. The last 2 laps, it is getting incredibly exciting, and now I believe mathematically, yes, Ash is now in the net lead because of Ash's penalties. Cherry 2Pi defending. There comes the Ferrari as well. There's the Renault. Look how tight this is. Blizzard as well. This is for the race victory because of penalties. This is insane. Up the inside goes Ash, potentially on Ferrari, on Tactician. No, he can't get it done. This is pure drama. Blizzard's now getting it up the inside. The Renault. Andy, take over. I need a break.
Yeah, take the break. That's absolutely incredible. Francis and Cherry getting obviously side by side. Here goes Tactician now up the inside of Cherry 2Pi. We're not going to go 3 wide into turn 30, even 4 wide maybe. This is going to be hell. This is going to be carnage, and around the outside, Blizzard has gone from 7th to 3rd in the space of about, what, half a mile?
Cherry has damage. Cherry has damage.
And Francis has just gone off the track ahead. He's got a flat tyre, puncture for Francis. Rear left tyre. He's coming at the pit lane, so that's his race absolutely ruined. And Blizzard.
Is Blizzard now winning this?
I believe he is.
Oh,
possibly.
Well, I just want to point out.
Incredible.
I mean, he was picked at the start. We have to quickly mention Cherry 2Pi has been well and truly robbed there. And Francis, if I'm honest with you, we take the mick and we joke about how that will end up in the stewards. Francis has. I'll be honest with you. I've lost a bit of respect there because there was no class in that. That was a lack of class. And well, wait a minute. Quick side note: how many seconds worth of time penalties does Nolan have? 15 plus a drive-through. If that gets removed, look how close it is. Oh, this is getting saucy.
Oh, here we go though. Nolan's coming towards the end. I'll let you keep an eye on the battles behind. Watch the race winner on track at least coming across the line in a minute and carry you through. Ash still trying to get past Tactician. Cherry 2Pi's dropped off Bastion's through as well, but Nolan coming through the final couple of corners. I'm going to use an expression that my dear friend Kieran McGinley uses. We'll give you the official, unofficial results because they could change, but on the track at least, Nolan crosses the line to win the Australian Grand Prix. But as you see there at the bottom, 5-second time penalty unserved, plus all the others, so it looks like Blizzard coming over in second will change. We're going to let the timings fix themselves because it's going to change a lot. So Blizzard crosses the line second on the road. Tactician now moves up. Ash is now up in the 3rd place, having been 4th on the road there. Bastion up to 4th. So Ash wins and repeats his victory from last season in F2. He wins the race opener based on what's happened at the moment. Tactician second, Blizzard third. R2's moved up to 4th place with all the penalties going on behind. Bastion in 5th, Jump up to 6th, Nolan down to 7th. The Snake in 8th, Cherry 2Pi in 9th. Pitmat rounds out the top 10, and what an end to the race. I get the feeling that there's probably going to be a few bits in the stewards about this, but at least in terms of what we have tonight, your race victor in F2 PlayStation 4 for the 2nd season running is Ash.
Yeah, he's the king of Down Under. He's the man on top Down Under, and that might just be the most chaotic end to the Grand Prix. If you are watching some of the drivers, I know some of them do watch back and they do listen live. I just want to say that I am absolutely gutted for Cherry. I do feel bad for him because that was his race, and he did not deserve to be treated like that. Ashbest has won that Grand Prix, but the man who's just left this session has lost a lot of respect there, and that for me was a pretty disgraceful and disgusting performance from him. But Ashbest wins the Grand Prix from Tactician in second. It's the old guard on the podium from Blizzard in third. R2 gets fourth. Chaotic, how on earth did he get there? No penalties, great showing from him. With Bastien in fifth, Jomp in sixth, Nolan in seventh. He'll be disappointed, may get some penalties removed, we'll find out later. Dan the Snake in eighth. Sorry, the Snake. Cherry 2Pie, gutting for him, he's down in ninth. 10th for Pitmat. Rymith is in 11th. MTZ 12th. Francis has been struck by some karma, down in 13th, 0 points for him. Joglar in 14th. Vile 15th. Luca, Maxi Luca formerly, in 16th. Zenqui 17th. Danny 18th. And Jamie James down in 19th. Andy will probably now start to get the drivers in for the post-race interview. It's a big shame. It was a great race, but nonetheless, 20. I think it was it 26? Yeah, it's 26 worth of time penalties for Nolan. 8 penalties, 26 seconds worth. Chaotic from him. A great Grand Prix, fantastic end to the race. Congratulations to Ash. Commiserations to Cherry 2Pie as the drivers start to filter way through here this evening. We've got Blizzard joining. We've got Ash joining us for the second year running onto the podium, and we'll shortly hear from the final man as well in Tactician. So we'll start things off with Ash. They're all here now. We'll start things off. Andy will do the maths. Now Andy loves doing the maths for the championship. I think he may have some problems with this one. It's quite a technical bit of maths for you.
I think he'll get away with this one, to be honest.
So we'll start things off with Ash. Ash, a Grand Prix that I don't know if you thought you were going to win. You showed some good pace, but at the end there it was just pure chaos, and you've won it on penalties, but a great showing nonetheless.
Yeah, quality was a bit of a mess for me, but then in the race I stayed in P4 or something, I believe, and I just ran my race, kept the pace up. Then carnage really started around like a couple laps into the soft stint when there was a Red Bull being a wingman to Cherry, and everyone was getting held up in that. I got pushed wide, which basically ruined my momentum, let Tactician, let Cam through, and it was all chaos there. And then I mean, we saw what happened near the closing laps with Blizzard overtaking like 3 cars into turn 14, I think it is. It was absolute carnage at the end, and I mean, I'm really happy to get away with the win, even if on penalties. I managed my race well, and I just kept the car on track, which I'm happy about.
Well, it was a great performance, back-to-back Australian Grand Prix. This time last season, I remember we was doing the interviews and I asked you the same question. I'm going to ask you it again. Do you think you have a chance of winning this championship?
I mean, this calendar does favour me a bit more because it has more high-speed tracks, which I'm more suited to. But unlike last season, where I didn't know anything, I know now that even from this race, I don't have the pace to win the championship right now. But as we all know, anything can happen. So, I mean, of course, I'm hoping I can win it, but really, I'll have to put in the practice, like a lot of practice in order to win it. So, I really can't answer that right at this point.
Congratulations on a race victory. As Andy says, the unofficial race results, I'm not sure what's happening with penalties. I think that Nolan had a year's worth, so if he gets a couple of months off, he may still have a chance of winning this Grand Prix. I'm not too sure what happened.
You're making that sound like a prison sentence.
Yeah, we'll move on to Tactician representing the Scandinavians, and a familiar sight, another podium for you last season. You picked up a couple this season. I believe you're on the pad, not on the pad, sorry, you're on the wheel for the first complete season. You tampered with it at the end of last season, but now there's no Sean and there's no Casper, for example. Maybe it's your time to shine. It looked like you had some solid pace out there, and you almost got the race win if it wasn't for the chaos that happened at the end.
Yeah, you're definitely correct that, yeah, this was my first proper race on the wheel, and definitely felt great. And no regrets switching over from the pad. But yeah, the actual race, I guess chaos is the proper word to describe what happened, especially in the last 5 laps. Oh boy, like...
What did you see
about? I
about?
Remember.
I'll quickly run through because mathematically, Cherry 2 Pie was going to win the Grand Prix based on penalties, but right. Francis, I'm not sure if you were able to see this or anything, but you were behind him. Francis was moving all over the place and crashed into him and caused him damage, which is why he ended up down in 9th. And then that just caused a massive ricochet effect because everyone bunched up and it was all down to penalties. And it seemed like one of them ones where it was between you and Cherry 2 Pie until that all happened.
Yes, you're correct again. Francis and Cherry 2 Pie had an accident. I think that was the starting point of all the chaos, like you said. And yeah, I was aware that Francis was having problems during the race with his tire wear. But I was just trying to keep my head down because I was really getting penalties all the time, and you know, penalties are very important to avoid in this game. But then I also had a DRS failure in the last 5 laps, and when there was like 4 or 5 cars all bunched up at one point when Blizzard got through. That was quite annoying because I think I may have been able to pull away a 3-second gap to Ash, who had only 1 3-second penalty, whereas I had 2. So yeah, I think that was a really chaotic race, but I'm very happy to survive in the end, and P2 is a good starting point, especially now that I'm on the wheel, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, congratulations on that 2nd place. Maybe you can push on throughout the remainder of the seasons. And then we finally finish off with the 2nd McLaren in that Grand Prix for most of it, but finished on the podium compared to his teammate. Blizzard, the McLaren lineup looked very, very dangerous, and it looked like you were going to make your way through the field. I just want to quickly point out, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but me and Andy have a predictions tournament, which, of course, last season I won. Whenever Andy picks a driver, they crash. Andy picked Zenqui. You'll be pleased to hear, Blizzard, that I chose you, and by the grace of my almighty prediction, you've done very well this afternoon.
I mean, the quality was abysmal. Probably saw that as well.
Yeah.
Messed up my main lap through everything possible, terrible sectors and stuff. And in the race, there was a crash with Yogla in the S's, and it took out like 4 cars, so I got lucky there. And basically the same thing happened at the end of the race with all of the top guys, and I just went steam training around the outside and got past them all, and just had no pens really. It could have been a win, but you know, just terrible with consistency in pens.
Well, it was a good race for you in recovery wise, but in qualifying, you know, it wasn't your best. Is your goal to be at the top half? Because we was expecting you to be a contender in the race, and especially in qualifying, up there with Nolan, for example, and say Cherry, who were there, of course, as well. Is that your expected position up the top half? Now you've had a season to kind of bed into the no assists.
I mean, we'll have to see, because I'm not sure my pace of the other tracks. I don't even know the other tracks other than Bahrain. But I think I'll be able to get top 5 this season.
Well, congratulations on a 3rd place. Commiserations to your teammate Nolan, of course, as well. So that is it for the podium interviews. Obviously next week it will be a bit more in depth, because we'll have Andy's breakdown of the championship. I think Andy may have the constructors for us though.
No, I do indeed. So, based obviously, we know the top 10 in the drivers at Ash, Tactician, Blizzard, R2, no penalties for both Salva drivers, R2 in 4th, Jomp in 6th, so well done to both of them. And Snake coming from 17th on the grid to get 8th place, Blizzard obviously from 13th into 3rd, 2 of the biggest gainers during the race. But constructors wise, Mercedes are still on top with the 25 points from Ash. 2nd place is McLaren on 21 points, 3rd place for Sauber on 20 points, Ferrari in 4th with the 18 points from Tactician, Renault next up with 10 points from Bastian, Toro Rosso 4 points from Snake, and Red Bull Racing round out the field on 3 points, 2 for Cherry and 1 for Pitmap. But of course those results are, to use the expression I used earlier, official, unofficial, because obviously stewards' decisions might change it later on. If you want to keep an eye out, we'll bring you up to date with any changes next week before we start, as we're going into qualifying. But that basically does it for this evening. An absolutely frantic and exciting Grand Prix start off season 17, and if this is what we've got in store for the rest of the season, well, bring it on. I'll take a lot more of this, thank you very much, although I'm sure the drivers would probably prefer something a little bit easier for their Sunday nights. But that does it for this evening's proceedings. Thanks to everyone for watching, joining in the chat. Sorry we couldn't quite get to the chat as much as we'd like to, but we thank you for joining in though with the discussion. For myself, Ollie, all the drivers and everyone involved at AOR, thank you for joining us this evening. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Until next week, we'll see you again soon. Ta-ra.